Yes, I'm not wearing makeup today, and no, I don't care. Kia ora! Welcome back to Deviant Art. Today I'm going to do some fan art, and as you could tell from the title of this video, I am doing Stitch and Baymax. Now, this is the first time that I've ever drawn Stitch or Baymax, so putting them together is going to be a great challenge and push me out of my comfort zone. So I hope you enjoy, and let's get to it. So starting off with the thumbnail sketches, I found it difficult to get the proportions right between Baymax and Stitch because I started off drawing Stitch where I should have started off with Baymax, which I did end up doing for the final sketch, as you can see I'm getting into here. Even though I did start off with Baymax, I was mostly going from memory for the first part of this. So all of this is just from memory, and as soon as you start to actually realize that it's looking like Baymax, that's when I started using a reference. So the arm here, I used a very linear, straight arm, whereas if you've seen Big Hero 6, you'll know that his arms aren't like that. They're more of a lopsided-y kind of shape. I also had trouble with the direction and positioning of his head. As you can see, I've got him more hunched over, closer towards Stitch, or where I wanted to put Stitch now. And this is also the part where I started to get a reference for both Stitch and Baymax. Originally, I did want to have Baymax's front-facing arm reaching out towards Stitch, but I just realized it wasn't going to work. So I had that one down by his side, as he's usually very stiff and not very fluid. So he has his one arm always down by his side and then reaches out with the other one. Now with Stitch, I also had a lot of trouble. Again, because I haven't drawn him before, and there's a lot of elements to Stitch. So his ears, the shape of his head, his feet were a nightmare to try and draw and get proportionately or perspectively correct. So there's a lot of erasing, redoing throughout the whole sketching process, and this is probably the part that took me the longest to go from the thumbnail sketches right to the final design, basically. I did also leave in the lost my train of thought now. The transfer onto the Copic paper. I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. So yeah, this is where I used my light box. It was just a cheap one off of Wish, and it works really well. I can't talk either. It works really well for a Wish light box. I use it for all my transfers, and it's really easy to work on because it's so thin. Getting into the line work, I really was proud of how straight my lines were, because I usually have a really shaky hand, so my lines usually end up shaky, but I was actually pretty happy with it. But that also does come down to a really good sketch base. So, getting into the difficulties that I faced with this illustration would be, first off, the size of Baymax compared to Stitch. As you saw in the thumbnails, I did try to do Stitch first because he's more complicated, there's more details to him, whereas Baymax is a lot simpler in his design. But because of the sizing difference in them, I did find that I
I had to draw Baymax first. Also positioning Baymax. Originally I wanted to have him standing upright, but his arms wouldn't have been long enough if he was, so I had to do him crouching over, which is what he actually would have been doing. Next difficulty would be the colors for Stitch. I had to go through many different colors to try and find the right one. I actually ended up swatching them and then holding them up to a picture of Stitch to eventually get the colors that you see here. I think the body of Stitch is actually pretty close to the original color. It might be a little bit darker than what it should be, but I'm still very proud of how it came out. Also, getting onto the shading of Baymax, since he is white, I had to go for the lightest grays that I have, and in order to get my C1 to blend out to the white, I needed to use my Colourless blender. But while I'm doing the arm, I realized my Colourless blender ran out. So I was very unhappy with that, but a proud moment was that I actually found acrylic retarder medium. It can actually help blend out even on Copic paper. So I found that to help really well, and it didn't discolor the way that you'd think it would. It actually turned out clear just like a Copic blender would. Also blending the watercolors. Since I haven't had a lot of practice with watercolors, this was actually the first one that I had ever done. I did find it very difficult to blend the red and the blue, but obviously as time goes on and with more and more practice, I will get better. The things that I could have done better with this piece would be the sketching and planning them out more, practice with watercolors and all that sort of stuff. So here's the watercolors. I also had a little bit of trouble with the opacity of it because I got them in the tubes, not the pencils. So that was a little bit difficult. I will be practicing with that more often because I've got a lot of paint to use now. But I think it'll be fun. It was a good challenge, and I enjoyed it.
Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did drawing it and coloring it and experimenting with the watercolor. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and also comment down below what your favorite Disney/Pixar characters are, or movies if you don't have a favorite character. Mine is Merida from Brave. As you can tell, I've done 2 pictures of her already. And also, if you want to see something specific, be sure to comment that down below as well, and you might see it in a future video. If you're new here, remember to smash that subscribe button and also click the bell icon if you want to get notified of when I upload. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!